58-year-old Mike Tyson. And then you're going to fight one of the absolute scariest knockout artists in the heavyweight division. Maybe we should watch.
There's a left hook.
And his chin served on a platter for that right hand right there. And look at Jake Paul's face. He knew it right away. He said, woo!
Declaring your winner by knockout, AJ!
I'm a little up, but will you take care of me forever and ever?
I say to this day, and I do it based on my reaction. Obviously, this is personal. I say it's the greatest knockout of all time. First time I ever stood up, I couldn't sit down. I was standing up. I was just like, oh!
I saw that. I saw you stand up. That's the first time.
It was just, what?
I'm expecting him the last 6 rounds with AJ. In my opinion, he won 4 of them. People argue that. He at least won 3.
The atmosphere surrounding the ring was thick with a tension that felt entirely artificial until the moment it became violently real, marking the precise instant where the curated world of influencer boxing collided head-on with the bone-crushing reality of the heavyweight elite. It was a spectacle that had been debated in barbershops, boardrooms, and comment sections for months, a grand experiment to see if sheer willpower and unlimited resources could bridge the gap between a Disney Channel upbringing and the Olympic podium.
And it almost, there's a left hook. And down goes Paul.
And his chin served on a platter for that right hand right there. And look at Jake Paul's face.
This sport has helped me so much in my life. I think my jaw is broken, by the way, so yeah.
Let's go!
It's definitely broke.
I'm a little fucked up, but will you take care of me forever and ever?
Anthony Joshua, a man sculpted by the brutal meritocracy of British amateur boxing and forged in the fires of unified heavyweight championships, stood across from Jake Paul, the disruptor who had convinced a generation that belief was a substitute for a lifetime of combat. When the final bell toll didn't ring, but rather the sickening thud of a right hand ended the evening.
Broke his jaw, he's fine. We met with Netflix afterwards. He took a shower, he drove himself to the hospital. A broken jaw is very common in sports, particularly in boxing or MMA, and I think the recovery time from the doctors and surgeons we've already talked to is 4 to 6 weeks.
The true extent of the damage surfaced just hours later, and the visuals were nothing short of graphic. A double fracture, not a hairline crack or a minor break, but a complete structural failure of the jawbone.
The reaction wasn't just shock. It was a complex mixture of horror, vindication, and a sudden, sobering return to the laws of physics. Joe Rogan, a voice that has become the de facto soundtrack for modern combat sports, had been warning the world about this collision for weeks, his skepticism acting as a siren in the fog of promotional hype. The narrative leading up to the fight had been intoxicating, fueled by Netflix specials and perfectly cut training montages that made the impossible seem plausible. But as the dust settled and the medical teams rushed the canvas, the
win tonight in Miami.
So
How are you feeling right now?
Calm, chilled, good to get the win, but there's a lot I could have done better. So yeah, mixed emotion.
Like what?
Could have done a lot better, cut the ring off, maybe done what I done in the 6th, in the 3rd, in the 2nd, even in the 1st. But a win's a win, and that's why we're here talking now.
You talked about having the weight of the boxing world on your shoulders, and like the purists, right?
Yeah.
And how do you deal with that type of pressure when the media is so fickle? 1 minute they love you, 1 minute they hate you. Do you feel that even though you won tonight, they're still not going to be pleased?
So with the media, how I operate the media is you got negative and you got positive. So I do honestly focus on the positive. I don't really focus on the negative. And secondly, I just understand that while I'm in the hot seat, so let's say there's a seat, and right now I'm elevated to that hot seat, I gotta take all the shit that comes with being in that hot seat, and then once I move on from that hot seat, no one's gonna care about me anyway. I just gotta.
That's not true.
It's true, it's how it goes. It's how it goes, so I know how it works. I understand the cycle. I'm currently in that motion. I'm dealing with some shit at the minute, but it won't last forever. have some tough skin, and then in a couple of years, I'll be sitting back watching someone else deal with that shit.
Thank you,
Come on,
guys.
Chan, have some tough skin, you'll be alright. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much
Good
for
to
your
see you,
time.
Michelle.
Great to see you too.
Fight fans, God bless.
Prophecy Rogan had uttered before the gloves were even laced up echoed with chilling accuracy. He had looked at the matchup not through the lens of a content creator, but through the eyes of a martial artist who understands that there are levels to violence that cannot be hacked. The idea that Jake Paul could stand before a giant Olympic gold medalist, a man who has traded blows with the scariest knockout artists in history, was, in Rogan's view, a flirtation with disaster. The fight itself unfolded like a slow-motion car crash that observers couldn't look away from, a grim dance where competence masked the impending doom. For the first few rounds, the impossible seemed to be happening. Jake Paul was not immediately annihilated. He moved. He circled. He survived.
What was it, about an hour ago? So I guess everything's calmed down a little bit. I thought it was a bitch move, if I'm honest, because anytime an attack like that is like premeditated.
This specific phase of the fight is where the narrative gets complicated and where Rogan's analysis dug deepest. The expectation was a massacre within 6 minutes. When that didn't happen, a wave of confusion washed over the audience. Was AJ holding back? Was Jake actually this good? Rogan, watching with intensity of a forensic scientist, allegedly admitted that the YouTuber was performing far above the grim expectations set for him. There was a technical competence to Jake's survival. He wasn't just running. He was slipping, sliding out of range, and managing the distance with a maturity that betrayed his limited experience. However, this survival was an illusion, a mirage created by Anthony Joshua's calculated patience. Rogan noted that the casual fans saw a competitive fight, but the purists were watching a predator play with its food. The commentary from the podcast studio reportedly shifted from mockery to a tense appreciation of the trap being set. Joshua wasn't struggling. He was downloading data, measuring the exact length of Jake's reach, and timing the frantic rhythm of the younger man's retreat. The narrative that AJ was gun-shy or old was quickly dismantled by Rogan's play-by-play breakdown, which highlighted that fighting a man who refuses to engage is one of the most frustrating puzzles in the sport. You cannot knock out what you cannot touch, and Jake Paul had come to survive, not to win, but the ring is a finite space. It is a square cage designed to force confrontation, and eventually, the geometry favors the master. The moment Joshua decided to stop following and start cutting off the ring, the air left the arena. Rogan reportedly called this shift in real time, pointing out that the space Jake needed to exist was evaporating. The technical kill shot wasn't just a punch, it was a sequence of movements that removed every exit door available to the YouTuber. The breakdown of the finish is savage in its simplicity. Joshua, having lulled Jake into a false sense of security with low-output rounds, baited the guard upstairs. He utilized a classic high-low feint, ripping a shot to the body that forced Jake's elbows down, exposing the chin that had been protected by movement for 5 rounds. When the 1-2 combination landed, it didn't just end the fight, it shattered the delusion. It was the kind of power that doesn't just hurt, it disconnects the brain from the body. Rogan's reaction to the finish was described as explosive, a release of the tension that comes from watching a civilian walk a tightrope over a shark tank. The vindication was palpable. This was the nightmare Rogan had spoken of, the realization that there is a difference between a man who boxes for likes and a man who boxes for legacy. The specific mechanics of the knockout, the snap of the head, the collapse of the legs, served as a brutal reminder of why weight classes and experience levels exist. It was a violent correction of the universe, re-establishing the hierarchy that had been questioned by the marketing machine. Yet, the drama did not end with the referee waving his arms. The aftermath revealed a level of psychological disconnect that stunned even the most seasoned observers. Hours after being separated from his consciousness, with a face swollen and a jaw reportedly broken in 2 places, Jake Paul took to social media not to retire, but to call out Canelo Alvarez. This specific moment allegedly caused Rogan to lose his mind. The sheer audacity, or perhaps the concussion-induced bravery, To demand a fight with the pound-for-pound king while literally broken from a bout with a heavyweight was categorized by Rogan not as confidence, but as danger. It raised serious questions about the people surrounding the influencer, who was telling him this was a good idea. The line between bravery and madness had been crossed, and Rogan's concern shifted from the technical analysis of a fight to the genuine well-being of a human being who didn't seem to understand the fire he was playing with. The discussion opened up a broader conversation about the yes men culture in celebrity boxing. Logan Paul, standing by his brother, spoke with a pride that was both touching and terrifying. He framed the survival of 6 rounds as a victory in itself, a sentiment that Rogan didn't entirely disagree with. To stand in the ring with a titan like Joshua and not die is, objectively, an accomplishment for a novice. But the cost of that accomplishment was etched on Jake's face. The broken jaw, the rolled ankle, the trauma of the knockout. These are receipts that the body keeps forever. Rogan's advice was stark and paternal. Heal.
Step back.
Stop chasing the dragons. The podcast host emphasized that Jake had earned his stripe of respect. He had taken the walk, he had taken the punishment, and he had proven he was tough. But toughness is not enough to survive against the likes of Canelo or the upper echelon of the heavyweight division. There is a dark irony in the fact that the fight went exactly how the experts predicted, yet the journey there felt so unpredictable. Rogan's retrospective analysis highlighted that AJ's anger was a key factor. The build-up had been disrespectful, the taunts personal, and Joshua, usually a composed ambassador for the sport, fought with a silent, simmering malice. He didn't just want to win, he wanted to make a statement. The patience he showed was not hesitation. It was the discipline of an executioner ensuring the knot was tied correctly before pulling the lever. Critics who whined about the boring, early rounds were dismissed by Rogan as not understanding the risk-reward ratio of heavyweight combat. One mistake against a 230-pound man, even a novice one, can be fatal. Joshua fought a smart fight, not a fan-friendly brawl, and the result was a highlight reel knockout that will be played for years. The financial aspect of this spectacle cannot be ignored, and it plays a massive role in Rogan's overall take on the situation. The involvement of Saudi money and Netflix streaming numbers means that the logic of traditional boxing no longer applies. In the old world, a loss like this sends a prospect back to the undercard. In this new, bizarre world, a broken jaw and a viral knockout might just increase the price tag for the next event. Rogan pointed out the absurdity of the market, noting that insane sums of cash are being thrown at people to bypass the natural progression of the sport. This distorts reality. It makes fighters believe they are at a level they haven't earned because their bank accounts suggest they are champions. Jake Paul is paid like a heavyweight king, so he believes he can fight like one. The Joshua fight was the moment that the paycheck couldn't protect the chin. As the analysis deepened, the focus shifted to the future. What does a man like Jake Paul do now? He has touched the sun and been burned. Does he go back to fighting retired MMA stars? It seems beneath him now. Does he continue to fight legitimate boxers? The Joshua fight proved that path leads to the hospital. Rogan's perspective offers a grim outlook. There is no safe path forward that maintains the hype. To fight lesser opponents destroys the road to world champion narrative. To fight better opponents risks permanent damage.